When barn swallows suddenly become noisy, I know something is wrong. Usually there's a baby laying on the floor or there's a predator around. I went looking to see what was going on, and when I got there, I saw these little birds just waiting for their time to fly. I knew I had to draw them, so grab your charcoal pencil and join me. I'm going to begin by toning my paper, and I'm using my jackknife, which is my dad's old jackknife. You can use a razor blade or an X-Acto knife. And I have a Derwent charcoal, and that is a medium. I can skim the top of the tip of the charcoal pencil and just get flecks of charcoal on there. Or I can use a charcoal stick or vine charcoal and just do the same thing. So I'm just going to shave on a bunch of charcoal. It's going to look like I peppered it, just like I did in the last video, only this time I'm using charcoal, not graphite. And I'm just skimming it, being careful to push away from my hand. I'm going away from my hand like that. Then I'm going to take my paper towel or my Kleenex, and I'm just going to wrap it around my hand. There's a large chunk there. I'm going to be a little careful with that. I'm going to brush that a little bit off on the side, because otherwise it's going to just draw a great big line on there. And I'm going to wax on like on Karate Kid, and I'm going to wax off like this. It's going to look cloudy. That's what I want. I don't want it too dark. Then I'm going to go back and forth, and it's okay if it's not perfectly smooth. Don't worry about the little cloudy shapes inside of there. I like the depth from it. These little birds are sitting on this ledge, so that's easy enough. I know that the ledge is going to be a straight line that goes across like this. And you can do your ghost line a few times until you get confident where you're going to put the line, and then lower your pencil. I'll start with the center bird, and it's offset a little bit. It's off. It's not completely in the middle. And it's kind of a squishy oval. Actually, the oval kind of looks like it sits a little bit onto there, so I might have it set a little bit so it's flatter on one side, and then the head is on top. It's going to look like a kind of a half melted snowman, and its tail is going to come off like this, a triangle shape that's coming off of it. And the one behind it, its little chest is a little past where the tail is, right here, and that is an ovally shape, like an egg shape, right here. It actually looks a little bit like an ice cream cone. So if I were to draw out a little peak, a point here, like with ice cream on it, and then the head is higher than this other bird's head. So I'm going to make sure it goes higher. And it looks like its neck is sticking out, so this little snowman is a little more erect. And then its tail comes off the back also. And then there's another little bird that's on this side. And that little bird, there's a space in between here. That is about a third of the width of this bird's body, so probably about that far. So its circle will be here, and it's going to come down into a little bit of a point, and its tail's going to go off. And then his head is a little lower than this one's head, but a little higher than this one's head. And it's more of an ovally shape. Okay? So now the beauty of the charcoal is it can get really dark and black, and I'm going to just start drawing one bird at a time. And I'll start with the center bird. I can see the top of its head. Of course, is very, very black. They kind of look like Batman to me. And then it has like a line that comes down, a kind of a curved line, and then another curved line like this, with two circles for eyeballs right here. and its little beak, looks like it kind of comes down, but it also has like a little point that goes up like this. And it looks like this area is dark, and then this area is dark right here. I'm going to shade it in a little bit darker. I see some lighter areas right above the beak, so I'm going to leave that a little lighter, and I'm going to just kind of scrub in some darkness back and forth for the top of its head. I want to get its cheek a little better, a little darker. And I'm going to add a little more, I think, to the pupil. Might leave a little bit of white for shine. I could go in with my kneaded eraser and I could pull out that little white at the very end to make it a little brighter. We'll do that at the very end. So I'm going to add a little bit of the feathers, and its head comes down, or its back comes down like this, and its wing kind of cuts in front and down like this. It's like a jig-jagged shape, and the wing here comes down and then comes out like this. And I'm just going to add in some of the shadow here. Okay. Now the tail comes back like this. They're real little, and they were just waiting to fly. It was so cool. I was kind of afraid to look and see, but they were all fine. They were just waiting to have their turn to fly. So right there, I'm going to add a little bit of brushing of some feathers here. And then I'm going to go in with my kneaded eraser, and I'm going to make it a little smaller so I can go in and lift out a little bit of white under here. You can whittle it into like a little pencil almost, and you can pull out some white like this and add some light for feathers like this. A little white under here. Well, there's white on the back also. I think that's a highlight. Lift that out a little bit. This right here is a little confusing, so I'm going to try to shape it a little bit. And then add some more lines here. Believe this is a feather. So get in and add that. Add some feathers here. Brush down some feathers here. I see a little bit of darkness right under here, under its chin. I'm going to put back in. A little darker around the eyes. I don't want to lose that ridge that's right here. And then we're going to go over to the bird next to it on the left. I'm going to look down its throat. This is where I'm starting with the shapes. I'm going to put on a skin per se, and I'm going to go down under the chin, down around its little chest, and block in his underside of his chest, top of his head, and then down here, down its back. And it's almost a straight line there, but it does have a little bit of a belly. It kind of bellies down like this. And the one feather, like we did the eagle, you can take the side of your pencil and just brush in a feather. And you can take your side of your pencil and brush in the other feather. I have to remember it's on a ledge. Anything that would be over the ledge would be hanging off. So then under here, I see a little bit of darkness. And on its back, a little bit of darkness. Wherever I see it's dark, I'm adding dark. Under it, on its shoulder, there's a little bit of darkness. Across his head is darkness. His eyeball is right about here. And his beak comes out to a little point like this. And then he has his little Batman mask on right here. It almost is like, if you look at like a pie, it's as if we're cutting the pie almost in half right here, except it kind of drops down and goes back. It's like it has a little helmet on, like that. And I think his head is actually a little flatter than I drew it, so I'm going to put the head a little flatter. And I'm going to add, brushing some feathers here on the chest, brushing some feathers coming down the wing. I'm just taking my pencil, making lines, hatch lines, like that, going down. There's dark shadow in between, which I'll put in later. And let's go to the other bird on the far right. Now this little bird's head's a little higher than the bird in the middle and lower than this bird on the left. So I'm going to make it larger so I can see it on my source, which is my iPad. And I'm going to go ahead and put the top of the head in, going down, adding its skin, which is really feathers, and I'm coming down its body like this, and the tail sticks out like that. And his little beak is more inside its face. This one's on the side. This is a profile. This one is like a 3/4 view. So the eye is about here, and the beak, if you were looking at this as being a pie again, I'm going to be making the darkness on a half of a pie, just like I did on the other one, like this, only I'm going to drop down. It would be probably at 5 o'clock if I thought about a clock too. So if this was 12, this was 6, this would be about 5, 4 or 5. And I'm going to go ahead and shade that in, and I'll add the beak in a minute. Right now it looks ridiculous. If you just look at this one, it looks ridiculous. I'm going to brush a little bit towards the top of its head, and around its little eye is dark. I think the eye is a little further over. And the beak is right here. If I'm looking at it as a clock, and this was the center of the clock, the beak is right in between where the hand would be for 9 o'clock. It's just a little tiny triangle down, and it actually has a little tiny triangle up. And then the other eye is over on this side. And then coming down for his chest, his chest is actually more puffed up than I made it. I'm going to puff him up a little bit more. This was my circle. I'm going outside of the circle. I'm putting some weight on him. And then I'm going to add some feathers. Some feathers here. Feathers here. I might bulk him up a little bit more totally. He looks a little bit thin here. I'm going to add a little more bulk on him. And then he's going to be black. It's like splitting this shape in half. I'm following down, splitting that shape in half, and adding some shadows for feathers, darkening these areas that are very, very dark. Now your charcoal pencil is going to get used a lot quicker than a graphite pencil. This is a medium charcoal. If I was using a soft, it would be even going faster. But this pencil is going to probably need sharpening very soon because it's starting to go quickly. If you want to use a graphite stick, you can go in and use a graphite stick. And you can add your marks, and they'll go a lot faster with a graphite stick. And this is not a large image, so it's a little harder to get into these tiny places. I use a corner. If I'm using the stick, I'm using a corner and putting my marks in with the corner. So I can go in and, now I could take my paper and I can turn it so I can add my board a lot cleaner. Going in and adding my board. My arm will move better on a diagonal, me personally, than it will if I'm going straight across like this. It moves better on a diagonal. And then I can add in, if I want to, I can add in some of the wood grain on here. You can put in wood grain by just making lines. It's just another way of adding texture. I'm just sending my lines across, and it's adding wood grain. And I'm varying them, changing them so they're not, it's not just the same line in the same exact spacing and the same exact tone. I'm just kind of varying it a little bit. So there's the birds. Now I'm going to go in with my eraser and I'm going to take out some of the lighter lights. I'm also going to add some shadows inside of here, I think. So I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and I'm going to make it into a point, and I'm going to come in and take out my lighter lights. And sometimes you have to get in and really scrub it. You can use a maped eraser, you can cut it, or a factus eraser. Sometimes you have to go back in and you need to reinstate the details. You can use your smudging tool. You can go in and smudge those areas that got white that you didn't want to get white, or you can blend with that tool. I'm going to put in a little more white. Actually, I'm taking out the white, so you can see that. These work really well. These little birds, are kind of fun to do in charcoal, and that's why I use the charcoal. You can use graphite, it's not going to matter. You can use either, but it's fun to kind of go in with the charcoal and lift out the darks. You can make them lighter. Okay, you can go in and you can pull out some of this tone of your boards too. And I am going to put in some darker shadow in between. I'm going to use my I'm going to use my charcoal stick. I'm just going in. I'm going to be careful where I'm going in. I'm rocking back and forth, and it's going to be dark down low where the birds are because they're blocking the light, and then it's going to get lighter as you get higher because the light is able to get in. The same here. Dark down low, and then it's going to go a little lighter as I get higher. And if you want to, you can put in some texture in the background. You can use your charcoal stick and you can add some of that pressed board behind them if you want to. You can put that in, do some random lines. You can follow the same pattern that you see on the actual reference, or you can make your own up, or not. Don't you put anything back there. But I'm going to just throw in some of these random lines and marks just to kind of add some interest here. And then I'm going to take my smudging tool. I'm going to blend a little bit. I have residual charcoal on this stick, and I can take it and move it around in places that needs it. So I'm going to go in and blend a little bit, putting a little bit of its head up, making it a little smoother. So I think there's kind of a life lesson in these little birds. I was really happy to see that there weren't any of them that were hurt. And I think that it's like how God is with us. He gets us ready for what we are going to encounter. And he puts beings in our path to help us. And in this case, these little birds' parents were really active, and they were all upset about anyone passing through the area where their little babies were. And we all have guides in our life, and I think God puts them in place for us. Now, after I'm done with this, I'm going to come in with, this is a charcoal white, and I'm just going to come in and I'm going to add a little bit of white. So it's going to take it up a notch, even further than what my eraser could pull out. So I'm going to put in a little bit of white where I see the really whites, and I'm going to stroke in some of these lines. These are the feathers, and I want to stroke them in the way that I would to make it look like feathers. And there's some little lines on these feathers, and this little one, I think I made the chin a little low. I can raise it up a little higher if I want to. Charcoal is pretty forgiving. It will smudge. That's the one thing. It will smudge on you. So if I were to rub my hand across this, I would destroy this picture. So I'm going to put in a little bit more dark there. And I'm going to enlarge my source. I can see a little line in here around the beak and next to the eyes. I want to put in the little lines for these eyes. I love their little masks. They're like little stealth fighters. They come out and they will dive bomb you. I had one cat that used to hassle the barn swallows in my barn, and she would climb up on the hay wagon and get as close to their nests as she could, and they would bomb her. And it was humorous, but I kind of thought she was going to get nailed by a barn swallow a few times, but somehow she managed not to. I'm going to darken in the darks. It's like push me, pull you. I'm going in, I'm darkening, I'm lightening. I'm darkening, I'm lightening. Where they sit, it's going to be a little bit darker because that's where there is no light. Where they sit, the light can't penetrate. So it should have a little bit of a darkness right where they're sitting. Let's see. Now I'm trying to do this quickly so that I don't bore you to death. You take as much time as you want to on yours. I'm going to use the edge of my pencil. Go in and add that for the tail feathers. Put in a little more darkness in here. And then his shoulder. And his back. And I'm going to put in a little bit of darkness around. I've got to make this larger again so I can see around the eye. And I think the eye is further back on this one than I drew it. So I'm going to put the eye a little further back. And the top of his head is flatter than I drew it. So I'm just working that in. I may even take my smudging tool and just blend that a little bit to make it look more the shape that I want it to be. Adding some feathers here again, putting some back in. I'm going to stretch this out a little bit further. I'm going to come in with the white. You can't believe how many complications I had just trying to videotape this for you today. I don't know why there were so many complications, but there were. So anyways, I hope this works out well. And then I'm going to put in a little bit of the feathers in the back that I see. I see lighter areas on the feathers, and I'm going to put that in. I'm going to punch the eyes a little bit better so that you can see them, so they look like they're glossy. I don't want them to look mean though. Let's see. I'm going to blend that a little. I don't like that. I'm going to just touch that and a little in the middle, and then a little on the end, and then I'm going to touch in with a little darkness right in the middle. And then sometimes when you're doing tiny places, it doesn't go exactly where you want to put it. I'm going to lighten up the beak a little bit there. Let's see where else. Put a little bit of feathers here. But I really think it's kind of giving you the idea of what these little birds look like, and it may inspire you a little bit to do your charcoal, and maybe you can see something that has really big contrast and have fun with the charcoal pencil. It makes the job a lot easier. Let me put in a little bit more of this. I see on the ledge, I see like a white edge on the ledge. So I'm going to take this and turn it sideways, and I'm going to run just on the edge with my white pencil, and I'm just going to try to pop in that ledge right there. If I can pop that ledge in. And I can put in some white out in the background also if I choose to. You don't have to. Our focal point is our birds. And you can make one bird more of the focal point if you want to. If you wanted to add more detail to one bird, you could do that. So say if I wanted this bird to be my focal point, this middle bird, I would tune it in a little bit more than I would tune in the other birds. And if you didn't care if you had one bird as a focal point, then do them all equally. It's up to you. So let's put a little bit of feathers on this one. I could work this a lot longer. I've really enjoyed working on this. In spite of all of the difficulties that have come, this was a fun drawing to do for you. So I hope while you're out in your world, in your area, that you find something that interests you and that you take a few minutes and sit down and draw it. Record the time that you were there by drawing it. It's interesting because when you stop and you draw something, when you look at that drawing months or years later, it will pull you back in time to where you can imagine what you saw, where you were. You can smell smells. You can imagine the temperature out. It pulls you back into time, like how a song does. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, where you hear a song you haven't heard in a long time and it brings you back to memories. So drawing has a way of recording more than what you put on paper. It records within you. So I hope you find something to draw and enjoy it, and just keep on drawing.